All right, the moment you've most likely been waiting for. Client acquisition. This is how you find clients that will actually pay you money. So look, before we start, where do you start? To know where you start, you need to look at a few things. Number one, do you have a niche? If so, where do they spend time? If you don't have a niche, this is going to change because there's going to be certain places you're going to use that will make it easier to find businesses not in specific niches. Number two, what do you sell? If you sell Instagram services, it probably makes sense to use Instagram, right? To find businesses, to find leads. If you're selling LinkedIn services, it might make sense to use LinkedIn. This is not a hard and set rule, and there are cases in which you will sell a certain service and not use that platform, but I want you to start thinking in this kind of logical way. Your goal here is to just find a starting point. We're not trying to find the best platform, the best message, the secret strategy. No, we're going to find a place where you can start. We're going to get started. Number four, understand that outreach is the process of reaching out to businesses. And this changes based on where you do it. Okay, so you're going to change what you say, how you say it, text, voice, video, and how many you can send per day, depending on the platform. All platforms have different rules and different cadences of what makes sense. All right, so outreach is how you get customers. All right, it is you finding business owners online and the ones that you think you can help and then reaching out to them. Simple as that. Since we sell to other businesses, it doesn't make sense for us to, put up tons of social media posts or, get a billboard and do an advertisement, because most people who see that aren't business owners. All right. People do this and this can work, but reaching out directly to the business owners is the most common way in which you will get clients. So reaching out is the most effective way. Now look, note at the bottom, some people would rather not do outreach and instead they would rather build a personal brand. They'd rather post content online and attract clients with their own inbound funnel is what we call it. It works. But is it going to get you clients fast? Normally not. It's more of a long-term play, something that normally pays off over 3, 6, 9 months. So I personally, if I was starting tomorrow, would start a personal brand, right? Posting about how I could help businesses with social media, but I wouldn't be expecting that it would get me clients for months. So I would then do outreach and message businesses directly as well. All right. So some important questions you might have is, how do you deliver results for your clients? How do you onboard them? What do you say to your clients to make them sign up? Look, we cover all of this stuff, but it's really important that you understand that you need to understand information on a just-in-time basis. So some examples of outreach would be sending a DM to a business owner on Instagram, sending an email to a business owner, cold calling a business owner, looking through online marketplaces to find people that need your service, sending messages on LinkedIn, and there's many, many more. So there's different types of outreach, and we're going to look at just kind of these three main approaches. You've got a direct approach, lead magnet approach, and outreach approach. And the process is this: we do outreach to get a business on a call, and on the call, that's when we try and show them what we do and explain how they could become a client and work with us. So you'll want to decide these things first before you decide anything. Where do the businesses that you want to work with hang out? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Where is it? What kind of message could I craft to them? What could get their attention? What would turn them off? What would make them think I'm a scam? Think of these things. Logically go through it yourself. What could you offer? Are you just going to offer them a free call? Are you going to offer an audit for their business? Are you going to offer them a free PDF that you've put together or a free case study? Think through these things. And are you going to take a quality or quantity approach? We'll talk more on this, but there's two routes. Quantity is volume, sending kind of the same messages to as many as you can. Quality is finding a handful of businesses to reach out to on a daily basis, but putting in a ton of effort on each one. So the approach is direct approach. I would be very careful with this. We've already looked at this in the examples of two of the DMs that I was pitched with no-brainer offers. These were direct approach, where someone just literally straight up says, hey, this is what I do. Do you want to hear about it? Be careful, because when people know they're being sold to, the walls go up, right? Like, if I don't trust you, we've never had a conversation before, and then you try and sell me, even if what you're selling is good and I like the sound of it, I'm probably not going to engage because I don't trust you. This is really good for people that are good at sales. Okay, so if you have a sales background and you understand sales, this could work very good. It can also work, very good if you are going to do personal, like what we call personal messaging before the direct approach. For example, you're not just going to pitch them in the first message, but you'll have a genuine conversation back and forth for maybe multiple days before you then pitch. Okay, so basically the flow here is that you are trying to sell what you do in the conversation, which is not the approach that I personally take. In my agency, the lead magnet approach was the most common approach for us. This is where we would give something away to a business for free in order to demonstrate value, build trust, and for them to think, yep, these are the guys. They seem like they know what they're doing. So for us, this meant that our conversations were way shorter because I didn't have to build up as much trust because I'm not selling anything. I'm giving them a thing for free. And the way I did this was with a case study. So very short and sweet conversation, one message to get their attention, and then once they replied, second message would pitch the case study. Very simple, worked really effectively, and this would allow us to push a lot of volume, and we could hit up hundreds of businesses a day. The student approach, I won't go into too much detail. It's essentially just disguising yourself as, hey, look, I like your business. I'm a student. I want to learn about it. Can you tell me more about it? All right. There's a saying, no one says no to a student who wants to learn. And this can work, but it's a little tricky because you have to then transition from, hey, I'm a student and I'm just going to understand your business and you're going to, help me with a project, to trying to sell them a marketing service. It worked, but it can be tricky. So the outreach mindset, whichever route you take, is this, okay? Outreach is the most important activity. It's the way in which you get clients. It's an RGA, revenue generating activity. And volume negates luck with outreach. Most people that struggle with outreach don't do enough of it. They send messages, 50 a day for 2 weeks, and they say, oh man, I haven't signed a client. This thing isn't working. Yeah, come back to me when you've done more volume, right? You've got to do volume, okay? Now, obviously, there comes a point where, hey, if you've been doing this for 2 months and you haven't gotten results, all right, we need to change something, right? Something is going wrong here. But volume negates luck, because when you do more volume, you get better at the thing. When you run more, you get better at running. Right? Even if you don't know how to run, all right? Let's say you've never ran a 5K in your life. I guarantee you, if you run one 5K every week for the next 10 weeks, yeah, you'll be better at running 5Ks, even though you didn't know how to start. It's the same with this. If you start outreach today, you don't know what to send, you don't really know how to do it, but you start and you do it every day for the next 10 weeks, yeah, you're going to improve. You're going to change. You're going to iterate. You're going to pivot what you're doing till it works, right? Like, that is just how we work as humans. It's the way we develop. So you need to do volume. You need to push that volume, okay? You got to take some of the experimenting. Don't be afraid to try an out-of-the-box approach, something that we don't even recommend, because at the end of the day, there's no one way to do this, right? Like, your goal here is just, how do I get the attention of a business owner that's busy as fuck and position what I do as something they need? So think on that. And it's the most challenging part of this business. It's the bit that holds so many back. And it's why in the mentoring we do, this is where we spend 90% of our time. 90% of the coaching and mentoring we do on a weekly basis is tweaking outreach scripts, building out outreach processes, helping students directly with this stuff. Because when we can crack this, oh boy, is it fun. We crack this and you have a system that is getting you clients. It's a very easy business to run. So it's why we spend like all of our time figuring out this thing. And it's why a lot of people struggle with this. So when you're starting with this, you just want to get started, all right? Like the 5K example, you're not expecting to go out and run an amazing 5K. You just get started, man. One foot in front of the other. Let's get it going. Understand it's a process. It's not a script. All right. Yes, you can use a script for outreach, but the people who really do this well understand it's a process. You can build a script later when you've proven you can do this, but it's a process. It's a process not just of, oh, this one secret message will get me a client. No. It's a process of, I need to understand how to get their attention, deliver some value to them, and get them to trust me so that they'll have a call with me, and then I can sell what I do. That's the process of this. View it as numbers, not people. Don't do this in your real life. All right, if you view people as numbers in your real life, you're going to have some tricky relationships. But if you view every business owner that you reach out to as an individual, as a person, you'll get too attached. So when one of them is like, oh yeah, this sounds interesting, you'll be like, oh my God, I've just signed a client. No, you haven't. They've just said they're interested. They might not be interested tomorrow. You view this as numbers, you get completely detached from the fact that they're people, and this helps. Right? It's one of the biggest mindset shifts that I made that helped me crack outreach, was viewing it as numbers. And just understand this, or I'm going to level with you. 0 to 1 is the hardest part of the journey. Getting your first client is the hardest part. Running your first 5K is the hardest part. Everything after that is so much easier. So please stick with it. Commit to this. Commit to yourself. Commit yourself to this and just keep at it. Now, rejection is good in this game. If you've been rejected in your personal life, dating, other scenarios, whatever. Don't bring that into this, because this is a game of rejection. If I reach out to 100 businesses, many of them will reject me. Some might curse at me. Some might tell me to shove something somewhere, right? Like, this is a game of rejection. This is what it is. And the beauty of this is that when you do this and you push through this and you do the volume, you negate the luck with volume, you have thick skin. All right, so like comments won't get at you as much. If you have rejection in your personal life, it won't get at you as much. This is a skill that you can use not only in this business. All right, if you message 50 businesses a day for 2 weeks and you sign no clients, but then you sign one client for $1,200 a month for a 3-month minimum, let's say, and you sign that client in month 3, would you give up after the 2 weeks? No, I don't think you would, because it's all worth it when you get one yes. Most people just quit before they get the one yes. Now, this is your thought process. How can you make your free offer so good that someone can't say no to it and makes the time for it? If you're going to offer, you might remember the lead gen approach, right? Or the lead magnet approach, where you offer a case study or something for free. Giving something away for free isn't going to solve the problem. It has to be good, right? Like if I give this watch away for free, it's only going to be valuable to someone if they like the watch. I could give this away for free to my brother who doesn't really like watches, and it would just be like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, watch, nice, right? But I give this to a watch enthusiast and they'll be over the moon. So if you're going to build a case study or host a free call or give a free audit to a business of their social media, make it damn good. Put in the effort, make it damn good. All right, so should you do quality or quantity? Depends on the platform. This is the main factor, right? If you're working on, let's say, Instagram, there's a lot of limits on Instagram where you might be able to send 50 messages a day. All right, we'll talk more about how you can get past these limits later on, right? If you're working on LinkedIn, same thing, there's lots of limits. So whatever platform you're using will dictate this. Platform with less limits, you're going to focus more on quantity. Platforms with limits, you're going to focus more on quality, meaning that you put more time into each message. At Upwork, for example, right? You're not going to go on Upwork and, apply to 20 proposals a day or 20 job posts a day. You could, but it's probably not going to work, because what works on Upwork is putting in the time and attention to make a really detailed proposal, maybe spending 20, 30 minutes on each proposal, versus on Instagram. No, we're not. Like, it's a different platform. It's completely different dynamics. So we need to be fast, snappy, get as many done as we can on a daily basis. All right. So warm platforms. Upwork falls into this category. This is more direct. This is less conversational. This is less volume. This is more quality. With these are platforms where business owners are essentially posting jobs saying, hey, I'm looking for a social media manager. Your job then is to apply to that like a job, but it's not a job, right? Like, you're doing it as a freelancer or as an agency owner. Your job is to apply to that and convince them why they should pick you over the other people. Same with Fiverr, Bark, and other platforms like this. So the way you do this, right? If you were to take this approach that works for you on Upwork and plug that into Instagram, I can guarantee it wouldn't work, because on Instagram, you're finding businesses that are not posting jobs saying, hey, I want to hire a social media manager. You're just finding businesses you think you could help, and your job is to convince them of why they need your help. All right, so just to give you some examples of Upwork, these are just some posts that we've seen in the last week. There's so many businesses use Upwork to hire social media managers, content creators, agencies all the time. Like, and they spend a lot of money. You can see this business has spent over $100,000. They're based in Singapore. This, United States, $7,000. Like, all the time, there's new jobs like this going up. 5K from Australia. And this is why, for a lot of beginners, Upwork is a fantastic platform, absolutely fantastic. In the past, I used to think it wouldn't make much sense because I didn't use it myself. But again, humbling myself and learning from our student success manager, who has really pioneered in this area and has taught it to our students so well, we've seen how powerful this is. For myself, when it came to outreach, the biggest way I grew was getting out of my comfort zone. My first clients, this is how I got my first clients. Quite a funny story. I flew to an event in London called VegFest in 2019. My goal was to network, and I was like, hey, maybe I'll land a client from this, but I want to go to the event anyway, and I'll network. Okay, we ended up meeting a business group there that we ended up signing the same month for $1,200 a month. Now, I did have a little connection with these guys before, right? I think maybe like 2 or 3 months previously, I created a few graphics for them, really small amount of money, like $100, $200, and our relationship just died. As in, I created the graphics, they got the graphics, and that was it. But I didn't know them well, never had a call with them, nothing. So then when I met them at this event, that allowed me to re-spark that connection. And yeah, that's where we then, had a chat with them at the event, didn't pitch them at the event, but then afterwards linked with them and messaged them. We booked in a call, had a meeting, and that's when we sold them this offer. Now, what I did then was I went above and beyond for this first client, like above and beyond. I treated it like they were paying me $1 million. It's like, wow, they're paying me money. I'm going to absolutely wow them. Like, I'm going to do as much as I can to make them impressed. And it worked because it was a 3-way partnership. Okay, it's such a wild story, right? Because it's like meeting them at an event is one thing, but then the fact that it was a 3-way partnership and how this happened is just wild. So essentially, one of the business partners in that, there was a woman a woman with 2 other guys, and the woman had 2 other businesses. She had her own fitness business, like coaching, and then she had a CBD company that she was just starting. And because we did so well with the business she was a part of, we had a call then for her CBD business, which she ran with another guy, and that guy loved what we did. And we got them as a client. The same package, $1,200 a month, probably within a week to 2 weeks after the first client signed. And then she got us onto her personal page for the fitness coaching as well. So we ended up getting 3 clients from 1. And that only happened because we went above and beyond. We wowed them. We just put in so much work and we gave them a good offer. Now, after this point, voice message outreach on Instagram is what I did to get my first 10 clients. So the 7 other clients we would have signed, right, excluding the 3-in-1 client, most of these came from voice messaging on Instagram. And I did this because, I had watched some content on YouTube and I had seen that, hey, look, not many people are doing this voice message thing. I'd imagine most people are not confident enough to do it. I wasn't really, but I just faked it. I just forced myself to do it, and it allowed me to learn how to be more confident on voice. It meant that when they would then have a call with me, they've already heard my voice and there's already a bit of trust built up. It worked out really, really well for me. But this only happened because I got out of my comfort zone. Now, going back to the other type of outreach, we've got cold. Okay, so cold is what I did. All right, voice messaging on Instagram. This is less direct. It's more conversational. It's higher volume. I was pushing as many DMs as I could a day across multiple pages. We're probably looking at least 100 a day minimum, mainly on Instagram. And that was my approach. Now, this can be done on, Facebook, LinkedIn, emails, calls, texts, tons of platforms. Again, it's going to vary based on where your ideal client is at. So keep that in mind. And just know that each platform has a different limit, all right? So the amount that you're going to send on Instagram versus email versus LinkedIn is all very different. If you're going with LinkedIn, you might be doing 50 a week. If you're going with email, you might be doing, you could be doing like 200 a day. If you're doing Instagram, you might be doing 50 a day. Like, all of them have nuances. They're not a set number, but you'll have to test that out for yourself. And again, I'm going to walk you through in a slightly different training on Instagram how we were sending 500 DMs a day. 500 DMs a day, even though the limit is around 50. So keep watching so I can show you that. Understand this, again, process, not a script. And to really understand that this is a process, not a script, I'm going to show you a framework. It's the AIDA framework: attention, interest, desire, and action. So action is when someone says, wow, I need what you have. I'm going to get the thing that you have. When we are looking at cold platforms, so Instagram, email, LinkedIn, they are not at action. No, they're all the way up at attention. We need to get their attention. All right. Now, then when you reach out to certain businesses will be further down this equation. So for example, I reach out to a CBD company, and this CBD company has just so happened to watch a bunch of content in the previous week, or they went to an event where some guy was talking about social media and how important it is and that they need to be on social media. So when I reach out to them, they might actually already be interested. All right, like they might already be further down this, but my job is to assume that they're all the way at the top. They're at attention. They need to know, what is social media? I need to bring social media into their attention. Then I need to get them interested, then get them to desire it, and then them to think, I'm going to actually get this thing. So some rules I'm going to walk you through for outreach messaging. And I really hope that I can give you enough here to give you a starting point so that you can start outreach yourself. Warm and cold, very different. Again, going back to the AIDA equation, with warm, people are all the way down at the bottom saying, I want this. With cold, they're all the way up at the top. So what you say in an email is different to what you say in a text and Instagram. So keep that in mind. And, don't overuse emojis or question marks or things like that. It's, just a general rule of thumb. Don't do that. It looks very unprofessional, okay? Number 1, be personal. I'm going to just show you a couple of messages here. All right, so these are examples from people I've worked with. So, do you create all these posts from scratch? This was sent on Instagram, and the person says, I use Canva for most of my content. And then they replied saying, wow, and then they put in the business name. It definitely is not an easy thing to do. Now, this approach is like not wrong, but personally, it's not personal enough. So I would never put in a business's name, address them as their name. It just doesn't make sense. It's like saying, instead of saying, hey, Adam, it's like saying, hey, Figure Accelerator. Like, I would just be like, whoa, that's a robot, right? Like, you're not a real person, definitely. So don't do this. Definitely not. Also, you can just see in the language, right? They responded, I use Canva for most of my content. Very casual, like, right? Like very informal conversation. But then this response just looks scripted. Wow, exclamation point. Business name, full stop. It definitely is not an easy thing to do, full stop. That just sounds scripted, right? So be personal. For example, if we look at the one on the right, hey, I just saw your fantastic product. I think that can be better, right? Like explain what the product is, because this could be just copy and pasted to any type of business. But then they say a lot of athletes like me miss seeing this. Hey, it's more personal, right? Like it just seems more casual, more conversational. So for a cold platform, that's most likely going to work better to get your responses. Create connection. Don't confront people, right? Like avoid confrontation. This is a message someone sent. Hey, just came across your page and love the content. How come you don't post more? The grammar as well, make sure your grammar is correct. All right. But how come you don't post more? It's confrontational. If you meet me for the first time, we've never met each other, and you say, hey, Adam, why don't you do that thing? I'm going to be like, whoa, hold on a second, right? How about a hey, how are you? Nice to meet you, right? It's just too much. It's too confrontational. So I'm not going to buy from you, right? I'm probably not going to be your friend, okay? So this applies for outreach as well. At the end of the day, we're selling to people. As much as we need to view this process as numbers, we're selling to people, okay? Send something that's going to get their attention, right? You need to spark curiosity or just engage them in a genuine conversation. And like my goal here is not to give you the word for word what you say, because as we've already looked at, the people who do this really well, understand it's a process. It's not about sending one specific message, like one script that magically signs you a client. That's just not how this works. Don't bait and switch, all right? Don't ask a business what their hours are, like their opening hours, and then ask them if you can send a case study right after. It's just a cliche of you dangle the bait in front of them to say, here's a question I know you're going to respond to, and as soon as you respond, I'm going to pitch the hell out of you. It just doesn't work. Now, look, I'm sure people have done this and have made it work. I'll put my hands up and say, hey, that's probably a possibility. But when I get these DMs, I don't like it. And if I've ever sent these DMs, I've noticed they don't really work. Now, make sure that your messages are easy to read and easy to respond to. So don't send big blocky paragraphs. Like, people are not going to be reading a big paragraph when they don't know you. So if you look at this, right? This person said, quick question, do you make all your content yourself? And they said, yes, sir. Nothing wrong with that. Then look at this. It's this big, massive message. I've already stopped reading because I'm seeing so much that I'm like, Jesus, like this person is clearly going to sell me something, right? It's this big, massive block of text. I don't like it. Not a fan. I don't like it personally. And I know, again, when I have sent this, it doesn't work. It never works. And the business isn't going to just turn around and be like, yeah, amazing. Like, let's work together. In a very rare situation, it might, but understand how conversations go, right? You wouldn't, for example, if you're dating, right? You're not going to hop on Tinder or Bumble and ask a question, then they answer, and then just bombard them with like 4 or 5 paragraphs. That would be way too much too soon. Sales is the same. Temperature checks are really, really important with outreach. If you've had conversations with 500 people, you need to know their temperature. Like, are they hot? Are they lukewarm? Are they stone cold? Because how you follow up with them, how you try and proceed the conversation and keep things going will depend on this. Again, I'm going to come back to the dating analogy because it's an easier way to understand this for most of you, right? Myself included. It's like if I'm going to message someone, right? Let's say message a girl, get a response. Like, I need to understand based on her response. Is that hot? Is that warm? Is she interested? Is it stone cold? Is it somewhere in the middle? Because how I then respond to that is going to change, right? I'm not going to say in the same response based on where the person is at. It's the same thing with sales, right? So think through this, because if, for example, they're hot, and they're like really engaged, you can advance the conversation to take action. Book the free call, give them more information. Fantastic. If they're lukewarm, kind of like like a kind of getting interested, well, now you're thinking, okay, well, how can I get them from kind of interested to yes, this is what I need? That's what you need to be thinking. And if they're stone cold, right, like you're thinking, wow, okay, how did I not get them at least lukewarm? Am I just being too spammy? Am I being too salesy? Or am I just not providing enough value? This is the thought process you need to go through as you look at your outreach. So let's get into some more of the tacticals. You want to ask specific questions. All right, let's just give you these two examples. Hey Dave, how are you doing? Just found your page on #fitness. Do you get clients through social media? Are you planning on posting more reels? I love it. The only problem I have with this is that it's more than one question. Right, it's 3 questions all in one. If you're going to ask a question, ask one. So second example, hey Tyler, do you have a social media strategy in place? Not the question I would personally ask myself, right? Because it's kind of salesy. It's, that the person Tyler is going to understand you're going to probably sell them a social media strategy because you've asked about it. But it's one question. It's easy for me to respond to. So I like that. Get them to take action, right? This can only be done if they're engaged. If they just replied yes to your question, they're not really engaged, are they? If they're warm, yes, you can go ahead and you can push them to take action, but not if they're just giving you one-word answers. Begin with the end in mind, my friend. Very, very important. If you, for example, are sending them a case study about content creation, you want to make sure that your first question is about content, right? Ask about the thing, give them a thing about the thing. I know this sounds kind of basic, but I see this is missed a lot, where someone asks, hey, what are your business opening hours? They respond and then they say, hey, can I send you a case study about Facebook ads? It's like, yeah, maybe they might say yes, but why did we ask about the opening hours? There's no link. You have to link. This is the best way I can describe it. Your question has to link to the thing that you sell. Okay? So if you're selling content creation or social media management, ask something about their content, about their social media, or about their business related to social media or content. Okay? That's what you're going to do. Let's keep moving. So when you're creating your script, and I say script in inverted commas because we don't want a script, we want a rough process. But for the sake of simplicity, you need to have an idea of what you're going to start with and what you're going to end with. So the middle of your conversation could be one message, could be 10. This is just your ability to communicate. And I'm not going to have you script out messages for each part of this. This is something you'll just learn as you go. Again, with the dating analogy, you might have your go-to message that you send on Tinder or Bumble for your first message, but I hope you don't have a full script, right? I hope you don't have a message to send at each part, because that would just be a bit weird first. And would it work? Probably not, because you would be trying to say the same thing to everybody. Okay, so just some examples that you can play with is sending the business their own content. This works really good on Instagram. You can hit the little paper airplane button, the share button, and you can send them a piece of their content and then ask them a question about it. Works real nicely. You can do a recommendation. So this is more direct, but it does work. Something like, hey gang, or hey, whatever their name is, digital marketer here, so you guys don't have any story posts up. I've seen a lot of your competitors use these and they seem to be working well. Simple, straight to the point, giving a recommendation, giving a bit of value, getting the conversation started, right? You could ask a question or a query about the content they're posting or not posting. Hey team, love the most recent post about XYZ. Are you planning to post more reels like that? Or you could ask about their products or business in general. Okay, so just some examples for you. Hey Tyler, do you have a social media strategy in place? That's very specific, which is good. Another one is, hey there, that's a great reel you posted in May. Have you thought about posting something like that as an ad? That's an example of somebody beginning with the end in mind. This person, I can guarantee you, is selling Facebook ads, and they've done that in a really smart way where they've asked about ads in the message. Personal, I won't read it out for you. I'll let you read that one yourself. Take a screenshot. And then attention and curiosity. This is a great example of someone showing genuine, like, I actually like what you're doing and I'm really curious in it as well. Okay, so remember this. Okay, screenshot this, please. Put it on your forehead. Don't forget it. Here's an example of the end of a script where someone is pitching their free call. And again, I'll let you take a screenshot of that there. This is an example of the end of a script with the end in mind. For example, I've asked them a question, let's say about content, and then I say, hey, is there an email I can send a case study to? I'd love to show you how John, right, my fitness coach client, using this type of content gained this result. right? So linking the two, beginning with the end in mind.